What's going on, guys? So I'm back with another quick video, and in this video I'll be going over the difference between a zoom lens and a prime lens. So diving deep into the difference right now, let's talk about the prime lens. So right here I have a Sigma 35mm art f1.4 for Canon. It's the EF mount. So if you're a beginner trying to figure out when the best time to use a prime lens is, in my personal experience, the best time to use a prime lens is when you have a controlled environment. So what is a controlled environment? So something like exactly like this setup right here. I'm shooting a YouTube video, I'm staying in one spot. I have my tripod, my camera, and my lens, and I'm using a prime lens right now. I'm using the Zeiss 18mm f2.8. And I'm not moving around, so my setup is stationary. So using a prime lens is perfect in that circumstance because you only have one focal length, and in this case it's an 18mm, and I'm not moving it anywhere, so that's perfect. Other types of situations could be shooting an interview, shooting possibly a scene for a music video, a documentary, stuff like that where you don't have much movement going on and you're not moving and running, gunning. That's a perfect situation where prime lenses are great to use. So why would most people choose a prime lens over a zoom lens? So especially for videographers and filmmakers, having a prime lens is great for a lot of different reasons. So number one, typically they're higher quality. Number two, they're usually a faster lens, meaning they have a wider aperture, such as like f1.4 or f1.8. And that gives you that shallow depth of field and that creamy bokeh people really like to get when capturing video. And going off of number two, number three would be it's great paired with cameras that aren't so great in low light. If you have a camera that's not great in low light, pairing it with a lens that has a wide aperture, that gives you, it brings more light into the camera and it allows you to capture a shot without bumping up the ISO too high to get that grainy footage. Number four, generally it's usually sharper as well, going off of the higher qualities. Usually the sharpness is usually better in these types of lenses generally. Number five, it has a constant focal length. So that could be a pro, it could be a con, I don't know which one it really is, but when you have a constant focal length, such as this one, it's only a 35mm, you can't zoom in, you can't zoom out, so you have to be intentional with the shot you're getting. That makes you more creative in your pre-production. When you're trying to plan a shot, you have to be intentional rather than knowing you can zoom in or zoom out, you know. That makes you a better filmmaker at the end of the day. Now moving on to the other type of lens, which is a zoom lens. So the zoom lens like this one, which is the Tamron 28 to 75mm f2.8, this is perfect for people who are running, gunning, who don't want to miss a shot, and they have the flexibility of zooming in and zooming out to capture that shot. In what circumstance would you need a zoom lens? So let's say you were at a wedding. A zoom lens would be perfect for that because you don't want to miss a shot during a wedding. You only have one chance to capture it. So let's say a bride is walking down the aisle, you want to zoom in real quick, and you step back, zoom out to capture the audience or the crowd. That would be a great circumstance where you would use a zoom lens. Also, if you're shooting a documentary, that could be a great way to use a zoom lens as well. So a zoom lens is super versatile, especially if you have a lens such as like a 28 to 75, a 24 to 70, a 16 to 35. You get a wide shot, a mid shot, and a close-up shot. So essentially you get 3 shots with one lens. Also, if you have a Sony camera, you could use the optical zoom or the APS-C crop mode to get that extra crop with the lens you have. But you could also use that with the prime lens. So in what circumstance would you use a zoom lens for? Number one, like I said, would be for weddings. Number two would be for any type of events, a corporate event, just any general event where you need one lens attached to your camera body and that's gonna be it. Then this would be a lens that I would choose. I would choose a zoom lens over a prime lens any day because you have that versatility and you don't have the time to switch out your lens. Or if you had a prime lens on, if I had a 35mm on my camera and I needed an 85 or I needed a 16, that takes a lot of time and that workflow is gonna be prolonged if I had a prime lens, whereas if I had a zoom lens, I could just zoom in and zoom out. Also, another situation is if I were in a tight space and I had to leave my lens on my camera attached to a tripod. If I needed a wide shot, I could just zoom right out. If I needed a tight shot, I could zoom right in. So in that circumstance, that's great because you don't have to switch out the lens and all you have to do is zoom in and zoom out. listing off the pros one more time, I named a few, but number one would be the option to zoom in and zoom out. You get 3 types of shot. You get a wide shot, a mid shot, and then a close-up shot. Next would be, there's a lot of zoom lens options that are relatively fast as well. For this one is a f2.8, and that's really good for a zoom lens, especially with the Tamron. With the price, you can't really beat it if you want to compare it to like the 24-70 G Master, which is like 3 times the cost. I'm not going to go into the quality comparison right now, but basing it off of this, it's like an $800 lens for what it is. That's phenomenal. Following that would be, it's very versatile, especially for gimbal users. So if I'm using this with my Zion Crane 2, I could walk around, get a couple variations of shots without having to take off that camera, switching the prime lens. That takes too much time. Whereas if I had a zoom lens on my gimbal, I could zoom in, zoom out. So overall, which one is better, a zoom lens or a prime lens? And my answer would be, it depends. It depends on what you shoot, what you find more important in the lens itself, and what you're using the lens for. In my circumstances, and personally for me, I would choose a zoom lens because I'm always on the run, running, gunning. I usually have one lens on my camera, and I have a tight window of when I need to capture shots for a lot of my clients, so having a zoom lens is perfect. Whereas if you were shooting documentaries or other things like that, maybe a prime lens is better for you. Maybe you want the higher quality glass. But for me, for what I need to shoot and the quality I deliver to my clients, a zoom lens is perfect. I also did a poll on my IG to see what you guys would say, and it was a 50-50. 50% of you guys chose the zoom, 50% of you guys chose the prime. So let me know below which one you guys chose and why.